For well over a decade, George St-Pierre exemplified excellence both in and out of the octagon.
When he came to the UFC, you could tell that there was something special about him. He just was a step ahead of his opponents at all times.
He just looked like a perfect fighter.
George St-Pierre dominant in every phase of the game, standing up and on the ground.
At 30, a lot of people thought my career was over. But I was determined to prove them wrong.
The pressure that must come with that, being the champion for so long, constantly fighting the best guy in the world.
He was always so hungry to improve, to the point that he never settled for being less than the best.
I can say that I think I did what I set out to do. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, everybody.
In the brutal world of mixed martial arts, greatness usually comes at a cost. Legends hang on too long, champions push their bodies past their breaking points, and more often than not, they retire not as conquerors, but as shadows of who they once were. But there was one exception, one man who achieved it all, the championships, the legacy, the respect, and then he walked away with everything still intact. His name is George St-Pierre, or you might know him as GSP.
His mindset was all about progression and being the best that he could be.
Every time GSP entered the octagon, man, he was showing something new and different and amazing.
He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the type to sell fights with insults or scandals. Instead, he became the most complete fighter in MMA history, a man without weakness.
He dominated pretty much everybody, not really many close fights. You know, what he did, people couldn't stop him from doing.
And a man who combined humility, intelligence, and discipline into a career that set the gold standard for what it meant to be a martial artist. This is the story of George St-Pierre, from a bullied Canadian kid cleaning gyms to pay for karate lessons, to the most dominant welterweight the UFC has ever seen, to the rare champion who left the sport at the very top. The martial artist from Quebec. George St-Pierre was born in 1981 in a small town in Quebec. To most, it was an ordinary childhood, but to George, it was painful. He was smaller than the other kids, he was shy, and he was a frequent target for bullies. They'd steal his clothes, they would steal his lunch money, and his entire dignity. George, he later admitted that I hated going to school. I was bullied every day and I just wanted to disappear.
I parked the car, go talk to him. I said, what the hell you doing here, man? He's like, and he thought I would be angry because when he see me, he saw his reaction, like shoot, like now I'm world champion, you know, right. Like I can beat him up, you know?
Right.
And it felt so good. Like
wow.
Just when I met him and I didn't get angry at him, like because it was still there. He did very bad stuff to me when I was young, but when I see him, it made me feel good. Kind of a relief now.
Yeah.
His father was tired of watching his son suffer. He enrolled him in a karate school at the age of 7. That decision would change everything. Karate gave George some confidence. It gave him some structure. It gave him heroes like Bruce Lee to look up to, and it taught him that martial arts, it wasn't just about fighting, it was actually about self-mastery. But life, it wasn't easy. His family wasn't wealthy. To pay for training, George, he had to work odd jobs, cleaning gyms, scrubbing mats, even bouncing at nightclubs, when he was barely old enough to even be there. Every spare dollar, it went towards training. And he wasn't satisfied with just karate. In his teenage years, George was also hunting for every skill that he could learn. He trained in boxing, he trained in wrestling, he trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Anything available in Montreal's small but growing combat sports scene, he was ready to learn. Unlike most fighters who specialized in one area, George, he was determined to be complete. No weaknesses, no gaps in his technique.
Things that we do every day.
Yeah.
That's how fight are won.
Yes.
How you program your autopilot to win the fight. That's how you me, I see it, I fight like an autopilot, you know, like, so when I fight, when I prepare myself for a fight, especially for the tactical, I program like a computer. How I want to react against that specific problem. How I'm gonna take care of that specific problem.
By his early 20s, coaches in Canada whispered about this young phenom who seemed different to all the other fighters. He wasn't brash, he wasn't cocky, he was polite, he was respectful.
He was a very respectable guy. He didn't really talk any trash about his opponents. You know, a lot of people like me just respect a guy like that.
And he was obsessed with improvement. That obsession would actually define his rise. The rise of a champion. George entered the UFC quietly. He didn't strut in with some trash talk or flashy clothes. He bowed to his opponents. He wore gi and he treated fighting like a craft. But once the cage door closed, his style, it spoke louder than any words ever could. He tore through his early opponents with a blend of precision striking, explosive takedowns, and control on the ground. The kind that most fighters and fans just hadn't seen before.
If you were going to create the perfect mixed martial arts athlete, he would look like George St-Pierre, he would move like George St-Pierre.
He wasn't a brawler. He wasn't a pure grappler. He was kind of everything at once. In 2004, he earned his first shot at the welterweight title against Matt Hughes, the dominant champion of the era. Hughes was a powerhouse, a legend, and one of George's idols. The moment overwhelmed him. Hughes submitted him in the first round with an armbar, and afterwards, George, he admitted, "I was in awe. I couldn't believe that I was in there with him. I was just happy to share the cage with him." That honesty, it endeared him to fans, and after that loss, it lit a fire in him. He went back to the gym. He was determined not to just compete with his heroes, but to actually surpass them. He trained harder than ever before. He patched up every single weakness. And in 2006, he was back for a rematch. And this time, he wasn't starstruck. This time, he was merciless. George dismantled Hughes with a head kick and punches, stopping him to win the welterweight title.
May have truly been the most impressive part of round one for St-Pierre was when he got bear hugged by Hughes. He didn't go down.
Absolutely.
And so much stronger mentally than he was at the War of 04 at UFC 50 when they first met.
Canada, it erupted for the first time. They had a true MMA superstar, but the Hughes rivalry, it wasn't done just yet. The two would meet again in 2007, and George would dominate from start to finish before submitting Hughes with an armbar of his own. It was poetic justice. In 3 fights, the young student had surpassed the guy who he once saw as the master, as the level that he wanted to get to. The Matt Serra shock and the reinvention. But even champions can stumble. In April of 2007, George defended his belt against Matt Serra. Serra was a veteran. He was tough, but he was considered a huge underdog. The fight was supposed to be routine. Instead, it became one of the greatest upsets in UFC history. Matt Serra clipped George with a looping right hand, followed with a flurry, and finished him in the first round. The MMA world was stunned. George, he later admitted that he underestimated Serra, that he had let the fame and the title distract him. For most fighters, this kind of a loss, it marks the beginning of the end. But for George, it was the turning point of his career. He rebuilt himself completely. He hired Olympic wrestlers to sharpen his grappling. He studied sports psychology to strengthen his mind. He brought in nutritionists, recovery specialists, even gymnasts who could actually coach him so that he could improve his coordination. Teammates said that his attention to detail, it bordered on obsession. He wanted no excuses, no gaps, no weaknesses.
I just know that I'm not gonna sleep well and it's not gonna affect the outcome of the competition. It's just a normal thing. You learn how to deal with it better. You're not gonna change it.
Yeah.
You just accept it.
Yeah.
The stress is your friend, man. That's gonna make you react. That's gonna be on the edge.
When George faced Serra again in 2008, the difference was night and day. He took Serra down at will. He dominated him on the ground.
What does that say about George St-Pierre's respect for Matt Serra's stand-up?
Absolutely. Elbows from the bottom again.
He's working the inside. Matt Serra needs to keep his arms inside of George St-Pierre's hands.
Big ones there.
And he finished him with knees to the body. The belt was back around George, and this time, he wasn't just defending it, he was building a dynasty. The era of dominance. From 2008 till 2013, George St-Pierre, he reigned over the welterweight division with an iron grip. 9 straight title defenses, every challenger, every style, every threat was neutralized. He beat BJ Penn in one of the most heated rivalries in the UFC's history.
He's a superstar beyond anything any of us can ever attain,
forcing Penn's corner to stop the fight after 4 rounds of punishment. He dismantled John Fitch, who came in on a 16-fight win streak, making him look ordinary. Against Josh Koscheck, George, he just jabbed him repeatedly, shattering his orbital bone and leaving his face swollen shut. Against Thiago Alves, he controlled a dangerous striker. Against Jake Shields, he neutralized a jiu-jitsu ace. Against Nick Diaz, he silenced months of trash talk with a disciplined performance. And against Carlos Condit, he was rocked by a brutal head kick, but stayed calm. He recovered and he rallied back to actually win. George wasn't just winning, he was solving puzzles in real time. Every opponent had strength, and the kinds of opponents that he came up against, it was different from opponent to opponent. He had to adapt in the moment, and he did that incredibly well. He had prepared for everything. His jab became legendary, his timing on takedowns was unmatched, and his fight IQ was on another level compared to all the other fighters out there. But behind the dominance, George was struggling. The weight of perfection, it pressed down on him. Every fight felt like a burden. Every win brought some relief, but not joy. He admitted, I was winning, but I wasn't happy. I felt like I was trapped by the expectations. The Hendricks controversy and the first exit. In 2013, George faced Johnny Hendricks, a powerful wrestler with some serious knockout power. It turned into one of the toughest fights of his career.
And I'm physically, mentally better than I ever been. So by doing this, and my confidence is very high, and even though he's posing a lot of threat, I'm confident I'm gonna win the fight.
Hendricks, the arena erupted in boos. The MMA world was divided. George, standing in the cage, still champion, but he looked exhausted, not just physically, but also emotionally. Then, he shocked the world. He announced that he was stepping away from the sport, not because of the result, but because the fact that his body was broken. Then he shocked the world when he announced that he was stepping away from the sport. Not because of the result, not because of his body that was broken, but because of the pressure.
I get very emotional after a fight, you know, I have so much stress, so much stuff going on in my life. I just get hit. I just came out of a freaking war, you know, the guy that hit like a truck, you know. I need to get out for a little bit. Like I need to make a point, and that's it, you know. And I give everything I had tonight, and hey, like it, hey, love it, and that's me at my best. I give everything, and that's all I can say.
The media, the mental strain had all drained him. He said, I need to live a normal life for a little bit. No champion had ever left like that before. George, he walked away with the belt still around his waist. The return and the perfect ending. For 4 years, George, he was gone. Fans assumed that he was finished forever. He took up acting roles, he made appearances, but he still stayed out of the cage. And then, he finally returned. But not as a welterweight, as a middleweight now, against Michael Bisping, the reigning champion at the time.
George St-Pierre represents the very best aspects of martial arts.
You're gonna be looking up at the stars thinking, what the f am I doing?
I don't know what you did. No one gives a where you were or what you did. You're coming back, the sport is a different place, game over.
I'm gonna strike you, I'm gonna put you down, I'm gonna submit you, I'm gonna restrike you if you stand back up, I'm gonna do whatever I want.
So you're gonna look...
Whatever I wanna do, when I wanted to do it.
Take me down. Landing some shots, testing George's gas tank, but in the third round, George champion. He had returned after 4 years away in a heavier division, and he still captured gold. And then, once again, he walked away, champion, on top, and in the perfect GSP kind of way.
Man, I don't have a word in my mouth right now. It's my dream come true, guys. Thank you for the support. It's a great sport. Thank you. We'll make a living because of you guys. Thank you so much. My dream come true.
As a UFC champion, but now the middleweight champion, a 2-division champion.
Now I'm still welterweight size, but I decided to take a shot because I put on some muscle mass. So our plan was to fake him on his left side to attract his attention and strike him on the right.
But then you gave him some space and you tried to get back up. You sunk the rear naked choke.
It was a trick, you know. I kind of sometimes put trap. I have more experience. He hurt me very hard, you know. A few times I got stunned. I tried to hide it, but I wouldn't like to do that fight again. Before a few years ago, I was always trying to force things, and I think the best way in fighting is to set up some trap.
Well, George, you said that you had improved when you came back. You showed it tonight.
It's about technique, setting trap, and intelligence. And I was fighting a bigger man, and I was trying to prove it tonight to all my fans. It's the toughest guy I've fought. This man is amazing. I'm a fighter, but I've been a fan of this man. All my respect to you, man.
George St-Pierre, ladies and gentlemen.
GSP's story isn't just about the victories. It's about discipline, humility, obsession with improvement. He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the flashiest, but he was the smartest, the most complete, and also the most disciplined. From a bullied kid in Quebec to the face of Canadian sports to a fighter who redefined what it meant to be a true martial artist. In a sport where every legend stays too long and leaves broken, GSP, he left perfect. He left the way that he wanted to. He left twice, but he also gave us memorable moments along the way. The perfect fighter, and definitely the perfect ending.